Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to What's the Gab this week. This is going to be podcast number 2. And first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for everyone who listened last week. I hope that you continue to support the podcast. And if you enjoy it, and if there's some things, during the podcast that I talk about that you think maybe others would find interesting, or just the conversations, I have here, go ahead and share with your friends, whether it be on Facebook or whatever. You can listen on here on Anchor, or you can listen on Spotify. And I figured out how to put the audio on YouTube finally, and so I'm going to keep working on that to make it better. But all you have to do is look up What's the Gab on YouTube, and it should pop up. And if you could, please leave a comment either on Spotify or Anchor or on the YouTube channel, what your thoughts are right now on the podcast, any feedback you want to give me, things that I can make the podcast better, or if you just have questions for me, and maybe we could do like a segment or something in the future where I just answer your all's questions. That would be awesome. So yeah, that's all I have for right now, and let's go ahead and get into today's podcast. Okay, so I had an idea of what I was going to talk about last week for this week. I think I mentioned it where I was listening to this, or I was watching this docu-series about, it was called The Staircase on Netflix, and maybe I'll talk about it in the future, maybe I won't. It turned out to be a pretty good docu-series, but, so I was going to plan on doing that, but then I woke up literally the next morning, and I walked out to get me some coffee, because whenever I'm just going to say this, I am not a morning person. I hate the mornings. Even though I like to get up earlier in the mornings, and I think my body just naturally gets up early in the morning, I'm not an early bird. I hate mornings. I would rather be up all night than have to get up in the morning. Also, by the way, if you hear this weird noise in the background, I have my laptop open, and it sounds like it's an airplane that's about to fly away. So don't worry about that. Hopefully it doesn't explode on me tonight. But I woke up, I was going to get my coffee, I think I had to be at work in the morning, if I'm not mistaken, and my mom always watches the news when she's working in her office, and she's like, hey, and I kind of got a little frustrated, because I was like, she knows I'm not, like, I don't want to talk to anyone in the morning. I'm just like that with everyone. When I first get up, I don't want to talk to anyone. I want to be quiet for an hour, and then I can wake up, and then I can finally, get what I need to get done. But she was like, hey, she was like, Russia just invaded Ukraine. And I was like, it was shocking, it was weird. Like, I don't know how to describe it. It was just very shocking. And I've been listening to the news off and on for the past week since this all has started, and from what I've gathered, Putin said that this was to bring the Ukraine back to Russia, because the Ukraine has been corrupted by the West and has been forced to change their identity and join the UN. And that's just not true. It really isn't. I remember, I think it was either my sophomore or junior history class that I took when I was in college. We watched a Netflix documentary, which I just was looking on there today, and it's like one of the top ones. I think people are watching it to kind of get a history of what's happened over there. And it's called Winter on Fire. It's on Netflix. It was put out in 2015, and it's a documentary that talks about how student protests in Ukraine started to kind of bring more of a unification of Europe by having Ukraine join the EU, and things like that. And but anyways, I remember watching that, and I can tell you that they do not want to be. Putin is wrong. They haven't been, how he says, corrupted by the West or anything like that. Maybe in his mind, he thinks that they've been corrupted by the West. Maybe he thinks, they're kind of stepping out of line, and they're making a wrong decision, based on his own thoughts and opinions and his own ideology and stuff like that. But that's just not true. He sees it as a threat for them to join the UN and also NATO, and he just decided to go ahead and just start invading their country, because the best way to have a country come back together is to just start blowing up people's houses, businesses, shooting civilians and all the other stuff. Obviously that would work, right? And I don't know, I just feel like all of this is like, I think this is kind of, I don't know how to explain it. Like, I know when I was younger, like, there were, like, countries against each other, like Russia, like, once before has invaded, I think it was Crimea, if I'm not mistaken, a few years back and stuff like that. So, like, I know, like, this isn't a new thing that, like, a country has invaded another country, but I feel like this is the first time that I've actually paid attention. Now that I'm older, I'm an adult, I actually, care about what's happening in the world. I remember when I was growing up, like, I did not know anything. I was just like, okay, like, because really, like, when you're, in school, whether it be, like, middle school or high school, you're really just worried about making sure you pass your classes and, making it through to get to the next grade, okay? Like, with all honesty, you're not really concerned about what's happening around the world. And for, at least that was my own experience. And for me, I haven't really gotten to the point where I started caring about what happened in the world until I was like 18. Okay, I was 18 years old when I started caring about what was happening around the world. And so, like, for me, like, this feels like in my lifetime the first time that something like this has happened, where, like, a country is invading or threatening another country, and like, also we have, like, things that have happened in the Middle East, also within the last year. Like, I'm just now, like, starting to realize what's happening around the world. Like, I think in your mind you just think, oh, there's these countries and, they all work together and stuff like that. But I've learned very quickly within the past, like, 5 years that that's not how that works. That's not how that works. People in countries have their own ideologies, and they, if it works for them, then why not continue to do it, right? Why not continue to do it? But I think Putin is still stuck in the mindset of communist Russia, the Soviet Union. If I'm not mistaken, he was actually a part of the Kremlin when he was younger. And can I also just say, I learned something this week, okay? I've learned a lot of things this week, and one of the things I learned this week shocked me, okay? That Putin, I thought maybe he was in his, like, I don't know, late 50s, early 60s, maybe even mid 60s. He's 69. He's going to be 70 this year, okay? I'm not going to lie. he looks pretty good for his age. He looks, I mean, like, for him to be almost 70, he looks pretty good for his age. Now, I don't particularly like when he's, bareback on a horse, which those pictures do exist. I wouldn't recommend you look them up, but he looks good for his age and stuff like that. But I think he's just still in that ideology of, like, I grew up during this time period and I can't let go of what I've been through, or like what I've experienced, or how we used to run Russia, how it used to be the Soviet Union. I feel like that's what it is. And to see a country that used to be a part of Russia be like, we don't want to affiliate with, our old country. We want to be our own thing. We want to do our own, we believe differently than they do. We believe in freedom. We believe in, having a better unification with the rest of Europe and stuff like that. And I feel like he sees it, he probably does see it as a real threat. But I think he's still just, he's stuck in the past. And I feel like a lot of, not only people, probably like older people in Russia, but like just like people in communist countries around the world, I feel like that's how they all think. Like they're still living in the past of, this worked back then, it obviously, it'll still work for us, but I don't think that's the case because, I mean, when you really boil down to it, there's a lot of people in Russia and, there's a lot of possibilities of them being a great asset to the world. There really is. But all they really have going for them is their oil. Their oil production. That's it. I mean, there is such a one frame of mind that everyone has. There's like a one, like a profile everyone has to basically fit into. Where, you can't speak out against the government. You can't think a certain way. You can't go against their norms. You can't go against what they believe in. And if you do, you can go to prison. There's been people, so many millions of people throughout the years in Russia who have been, executed because they spoke out against the government and stuff like that. And I'm just going to say this. I am so thankful that we live in a country where we're able to have free speech. And, we may not all get along with each other. We may not all agree on things, but at least we're able to speak our opinion and not be put down about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and because we all have different ideas and opinions, there's more ability to have creativity. Like, think about all the stuff that's been created here in America. Like, we have so many different things that we can, give to the world, and, whether it be science or, technology or, anything. Like, we're able to share so much stuff with the rest of the world. And Russia's just kind of been in the same, idea for so many years that because they don't let their people be creative, be different, break the mold, they really don't have anything going for them. All they really have to offer for the world is crude oil. So I just hope that, within the coming days and weeks and stuff like that, Ukraine so far has been doing an amazing job protecting their land. Like, it's insane how much, like, people have stepped up, like, just regular citizens just stepped up and were like, I'm going to protect my country. I'm going to defend my country. If anyone tries to cross our borders and tries to take our country, I'm not afraid to defend my country. I think it's so patriotic, it's so humbling, it's so amazing to see that there are people who are so passionate about their homeland and where they live at, that they, within a drop of a dime, they would go and fight for their country. I think that's amazing. And I think the president, Zelensky, he's been doing a great job. I think it was, what day was it? Was it Monday? It's either Sunday or Monday when he had a video conference with the UN leaders. They had he must have popped up on the screen, and everyone in the chamber was just giving a round of applause to him for a long time too, and he's well deserved of it. He said before that he was Putin's number one target, and even though he's their number one target, he hasn't left the country. He's there fighting for his country there. Even though he knows he's a number one target, and if they do find him and they get a hold of him, he would be, executed probably on the spot. He's stayed there and he's fought for his country. I think it's also funny, I found out he's only 44 years old, but he also used to be a former comedian. And I think I saw an article, I didn't read it, but I saw where he was in the Paddington movies, with the bear and the rain hat and coat and stuff like that. I never watched the movie, but I saw an article where I guess he was in the movie. But yeah, he's awesome. He's stood his ground. He's been a great leader. I think one of the lines that I think he said really struck out to me, that they haven't had an invasion like this in their country since 1941 when Nazi Germany did invade their country. And like I was saying before, it's so crazy that people are they still have these ideologies from, it's not really that long ago. It's only 80 years ago, but still, you think it's a long time, and you're like, okay, people are starting to, evolve and realize that this isn't the only way of thinking, but there's still people who still believe that. But I do think it's really noble of, what I've seen of the Ukrainian people so far. It's really humbling. Like I said, it's very inspiring, that, all these, citizens and even people in parliament and stuff like that have stayed behind to defend their country. And I know Biden called him and was like, hey, if you need to get out of there, since he's been the number one, kind of the number one target for the Russians. He's like, if you need to ride out of there, we'll get you out of there. We'll get you out of Ukraine. And Zelensky was like, I don't need rescued. I'm here to fight for my people. What I need is bullets and ammunition to help fight for my country. And I never really want to talk about politics on my podcast. Just because, I feel like it's such a thing that can divide people and stuff like that. But I gotta talk about Biden. I think most of us, even if you're a Democrat, I think there's a lot of people who are Democrats who are even what is going on with Biden? You know what I mean? It just doesn't make sense. And for him to I think it's so funny how for him to ask Zelensky, hey, do you need a ride out of Ukraine? Do you want to hop out of there? To me, that just tells me what he would do if he was in that situation. He wouldn't stay there and, support his troops or the people fighting for the country. He would leave. He would run. And I know a lot of people be like, well, Gabby, how old is he? He's because he's the oldest president. Let's look it up on the computer. Let's see. Of course, my internet wants to be really slow today. Alright, I'm just going to keep talking while I look this up because my internet's being slow. But, a lot of people might say, well, that's different because, Joe Biden's older, okay, he's 79 years old. Okay. So a lot of people might be like, well, Gabby, he's 79 years old. Of course he wouldn't stay there and fight. Of course it would make sense for him to leave. Okay, sure. But let me just tell you something, okay? I don't want to hear that excuse because I've seen pictures and news stories where there are elderly people in Ukraine fighting for their country. I know there was one photo I saw. It was a 70-something-year-old woman, okay? This was a week before Russia invaded their country. It was a week before Russia invaded their country. And she was laying on the ground with a gun. And she was practicing how to shoot a gun. Because she was going to stay there to protect her country. Okay? So, you could say, yeah, of course it makes sense for Joe Biden to leave, he's an older guy. Well, you know what? I don't want to hear excuses because I've seen many elders in Ukraine stay and fight for their country. And to me, for him to call him and be like, I can get you a ride out of there, that just shows that's what he would do. And it shows weakness to me. And by the way, I'm just noticing this on Google when I searched his name. His middle name is Robinette. Okay? First of all, how did he even get in office? Okay? His middle name is Robinette. What kind of middle name is that? Watch, I probably look up what it actually means. It's probably someone in his ancestry who really meant something a lot to him. But anyways, I'm so done with Joe Biden. I'm so done with everything. I was gonna say everything he's done, but he hasn't done anything. He's done nothing since he's gotten into office, but caused everyone just more problems. He's caused everyone more problems. Now I watched his State of the Union address last night. Terrible, awful. It was awful. It was absolutely horrific. And maybe I'm being a little bit too much right now, perhaps, but he was so out of tune with what was happening in the country right now. He was so out of tune with what was happening in the country right now. And he talked inflation is such a big thing. Inflation is probably one of the biggest things happening right now in his presidency. Okay, and I even did some research because I was just curious. Because I've noticed, I can tell you, within the last year, so this past weekend, I went grocery shopping, and I just got my essentials. Not much, it was stuff I always get. I always get my blueberries, my raspberries, I got stuff to make my, my lunches for my, for work, and I got, my snacks, and just stuff that I always get, almost every single trip, okay? I didn't even get extra what I usually get, okay? I got my essential things that I get at the grocery store almost every single week, okay? A year ago, I would get the same stuff. It would probably be $75, $80, okay? This past weekend, I think it's between $140, $150. That's doubled right there, okay? And I did even some more research, okay? So, inflation's a really big thing right now with his presidency. And so I looked up what people thought about the State of the Union address last night. He would bring up an issue, be very vague about how he was going to make it better. And of course you got people on the one side, yeah, woo, woo, Yay! But I did some research on what people thought. And 33% thought he was going in the right direction. I don't know who these people are, but apparently they think he's doing a good job. While 76% think he's in the wrong direction. Okay. And then I also looked up what people's approval ratings were. This was actually all in the same article, I believe, as those percentages, but April of last year, and this is based on people approving him of the economy and stuff, okay? Last year, he had a plus 12 point net approval on the economy, okay? Not too bad, okay? This year, he's at a negative 20 point approval, okay? Which means that he has one of the worst economies of any president since at least 1978, which would be the presidency of Jimmy Carter, okay? And I also looked, inflation is up by 7.5%. And also another thing I thought would be, interesting to look up is gas. That's something else that's happening right now. Gasoline, I used to be able to get half of a tank for like $20, and now I get half a tank and it's $30, okay? But the national average on January 18th, 2021, when Biden took over as president, the national average was $2.38 per gallon. Now, today, I looked it up for today what the national average was, okay? For today, it's a 53% increase. The national average is $3.65 per gallon. So, I don't know. It makes me worried about the country, and it's not even just me, or like I hear other family members. I'm hearing everyone say, I used to be able to do this, no problems. Now I do it, and I'm barely getting by paycheck to paycheck. I mean, this is all across the country. And he even said that last night. He was like, I know people are worried about getting paycheck to paycheck. He's like, we're going to do something about it. And then just left the conversation. I'm like, okay, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to make it better? How are we going to be able to get inflation under control? How are we going to do it? Tell me, Joe, how are we going to do it? But he doesn't know. No one in his office knows. They're just playing around the bush. I honestly think, I have a feeling they didn't even expect him to become president. And now that he is, they honestly don't know what to do. They're just like, okay, we're here now. So we actually have to do the job? We got elected, but we have to do the job now? Yeah, you do. For some reason, the majority voted that Joe Biden would be the best president to have. And somehow, Kamala Harris would be the best vice president. And look, I don't have a problem with a woman being vice president, okay? I have no problem with that. I think it would be awesome to have a woman vice president. But her? No. Look up some history about her, okay? You can understand why I really wouldn't like her being the vice president, okay? And then last night at the State Union address, you had Nancy Pelosi. Couldn't keep her dentures in her mouth. She kept going. Like she was moving around in her mouth. Like she had some marbles or something floating around in there. Oh my gosh. And then, what's his name? Is it Mitch McConnell? Is that his name? Who is his name? I feel like I'm right, but I don't want to be wrong. Mitch McConnell. Yeah, Mitch McConnell. Frog face. My mom, she told me, oh my god, his real name's Addison. Good night. These people just lie to us left and right. They lie to us about, their names. They lie to us about what they do, when it comes to policies and stuff. Good night. These people are just like, oh my god, he's 80 years old. Whew. Wow. He actually doesn't look too bad for his age either. Yeah, my mom last night, she was like, he reminds me of a frog. And then I looked at him, and I don't know if you all remember, I only had one of the books when I was growing up, but it was the book called Frog and Toad or something like that. Y'all remember that? It was like you had the frog and you had the toad, and they were both wearing the suits and stuff like that. And it was all like monochromes, looked like a baby's diaper or whatever. And he, like, that's what he looks like to me, and I can't undo it. I can't unthink it. But I don't know. I'm just hoping and I'm praying. I think for all of us, we just have to pray that God will open the eyes of people. I know a lot of people are like, oh, let's just take him out of office and, our lives would be better. That could be possible, could be true. But I think another possibility is, just pray for your leaders. God's able to do anything. He can change people's minds on what to do. You may be thinking, oh my God, that's such a terrible idea. Like, he has no idea what he's doing. Well, just pray about it. Maybe God could get in his head, like, hey, maybe I'm doing the wrong thing. Maybe I should do this. And it even says in the Bible, pray for your leaders. It says it in the Bible. I think I made it very clear today. I'm not a Biden fan. I really am not. But I pray for him, his administration, every single day. I say, God, please open their eyes, help them make the right decisions, not only for the people of this country, but also that can help, people around the world, So maybe this week, take that time and, while you're praying for the people of Ukraine, which I've also been doing, and I think everyone should be doing, because I've heard stories on Facebook where people are like, we need your prayers. There's been, rockets or bombs that have, been shot in the sky and then they just disappear and we don't know where they went, and they, God has his hand upon them, I believe. And, if he can take care of people in Ukraine, he can surely, change minds of, our leaders. And so maybe this week, take that time and, instead of being like, oh, I wish this person would get out of, leadership, I wish this person would get out of office, pray for them. Tell them, God, open their eyes. Show them what you want to happen. Show them what is right, what's truthful, and what you find pleasing in your eyes. Do that. And, God can totally open his eyes. He can open people around him his eyes and be like, hey, maybe we should do this instead. And you know what? Things might actually turn around, So that's just something to keep in mind. All right. So we're going to be starting a new segment this week. It's going to be called Weirdest News Stories. And I'm going to be honest with you, I think these were some pretty good news stories. First of all, February 23rd, 2022, Gracie the goat helped 2 deputies in Virginia chase a suspect on foot through the woods and was taken into custody. I think that's pretty awesome. I love goats. I would love to have a farm one day and just have a bunch of goats on them. And I would be the happiest person ever. I really would. Instead of a K9 unit, why don't we just do like a GT unit, a goat unit? I mean, this goat was able to help police chase down a suspect and get him into custody. Okay. So we can keep the K9 unit. They're cool. What if we had a goat unit? That'd be so cool. That'd be so cool. We just got a bunch of goats running around in like police uniforms and, taking their head and just smacking them up against some guy's leg, Probably got some paraphernalia in his car or something. I thought that story was so funny. I thought it was awesome. So Gracie the goat, good job. Maybe they'll give you a part as, the new goat unit in Virginia. So keep up the good work, Gracie. Keep it up. All right. Let's go ahead and get to the next news story. February 25th, 2022, an Iraqi man became the new Guinness World Record holder for balancing 18 eggs on the back of his hand. I feel like a lot of Guinness records are just, they've kind of gotten out of hand, I feel like. And I feel like this is one of them where I'm kind of conflicted, because I'm like, okay, this is so stupid. Why would anyone do that? But also the fact that he was able to balance 18 eggs on the back of his hand is also really impressive, because I know if I tried to balance something on the back of my hand, if it was a pencil, okay, let me try. So if it's a pencil, okay, it stays in my hand, okay? This is the back of your hand too. This isn't like you're cupping it. You're actually, okay, now I'm going to get my computer mouse. Well, maybe I shouldn't do that because I'm actually using it. I'm not going to use my little Abe Lincoln statue. What can I use? That's like round. Definitely not my candle. I don't know what to pick up. I'm not going to pick up anything, but you get the idea, okay? Like, it's kind of cool because I know I couldn't do it, but this guy did. And you know what the funny thing is I read the rest of the article, okay? And they asked him, they were like, well, what's your secret? How do you get, these things to balance on your hand? And he's like, well, I can't tell you my secret. Because obviously, so many people want to break this record, holding eggs on the back of their hands. But he said it takes patience and practice. No, really? You don't think it takes patience and practice? Okay? It takes patience and practice for me. It took me patience and practice to learn how to ride a bike. It took me patience and practice to learn how to tie my shoes when I was a kid. It took me patience and practice to be able to just deal with people on a daily basis, okay? That's something I'm still working on, okay? I'm literally wearing a shirt right now that says, I used to be a people person, but then people ruined it, okay? Everything takes practice and patience, okay? So your advice means nothing, because literally anyone could have said that about anything. But I guess good job, dude, for being able to break this world record. Do they give the people a prize, money, or do you just get the record and they're like, okay, live your life now? Who knows? So congratulations to this gentleman. Yeah, hope maybe you can add another egg in another year or two. With patience and practice, anything is possible. Okay, now to our last weirdest news story of the week. February 25th, 2022, same day. Authorities in San Diego seized nearly $3 million worth of methamphetamines in an onion shipment. There was more than 1,336 pounds that were shaped into small globes with white covering to blend in with the onions. I saw this one and I immediately just started laughing. Because first of all, it didn't give you all that detail. Literally, the only thing it said in the caption was $3 million worth of meth was smuggled into an onion shipment and it was found or whatever, okay? Then I read the rest of that, and I was like, oh my gosh, this guy took the time. I mean, I don't know if it was the driver who was, driving the vehicle that they found it in, but whoever it was, they took the time, okay, to take the meth, put it into little globes, okay, to look like it went with the onion shipment. Look, I don't condone drugs. I don't. I've never touched a drug. I've never drank in my life. I never will. But you gotta admit it, this guy, he gave it his all. If you're gonna do something, go out with a bang. He did some work. So I gotta give him some credit for that. I thought it was so funny because he's just I can just imagine him with it in his hands, and he's just patting it together. You know what I mean? And he's just okay, I gotta make these look like onions. But I think that was the best one of the week. So So yeah, that's a new segment I'm going to do. I don't know if I'm going to do it every week. I might do it every other week, or, who knows. But if you have any ideas for any other segments I could do, maybe like a question and answer segment, or just any other ideas in general, maybe like a this or excuse me. Gosh, hold on. I came home and I had some leftover pizza. And like the flour they put on the bottom of it to make sure it doesn't stick on the pan. Well, I choked a little bit on the pizza crust, and I'm pretty sure some of the flour is still in my throat, so I'm sorry. What was I saying? Oh, like a this or that segment, leave your comments below. Again, you can leave them on Anchor or, what's it called? I completely blanked. On Anchor or Spotify, or even on the YouTube channel. So yeah. Or if you find any weird stories and you want to send them to me, I guess you could leave the link in the comments below. So yeah, that was today's weirdest news stories. Okay, never mind. I was going to play the music to make it sound like a cool outro, but it wanted to be dumb, so. Okay, I don't know how to really go into this next segment, but I thought it was something interesting I really wanted to talk about because I had never heard about before. So let me know if you've heard about this before. So I've been doing a keto diet now since September, October, I think. And I've had some pretty good success with it. I've lost a good amount of weight on it. And I was looking for some recipes on Pinterest because there's some that I've done that I forgot to save to my Pinterest boards. So I was looking up for some of those, and I was just looking for new ones too, like little snack recipes. And then I see this link to Giant Eagle. It was a Giant Eagle article, okay? And it was about this new milk called potato milk. Yes, potato milk. And I had never heard about potato milk before. So I was like, okay, how does this get made? Like, I've made almond milk before. I think it was during the pandemic, like when it first started. And we couldn't go out to the stores and things on the shelf were empty. Hasn't changed much. But we had some almonds left over, and I looked up, all you do is just like put almonds in a blender with some water, and you blend it up, and it makes almond milk. And it tastes just like almond milk, because it was almond milk. And I was like, okay, how do you make potato milk? Basically the same way, okay? You boil the potatoes, and then you use the water that you boiled them in, and you put it in a blender together. And that's how you make the potato milk, okay? And I was like, what? I don't know if that would even really taste good. Like, look, okay, I'm a potato person. I like my potatoes. Even though on this keto diet, I can't have my potatoes. I can't have potatoes. I might have, like, fries, like, here and there. You know what I mean? I gotta cheat once in a while. Because I love my potatoes so much. But, like, potato milk? I don't know, like, would it actually be something you would want to use in your cereal? Would it be something you would want to use, I guess, to bake maybe? My only thing is, like, okay, say I want to, like, have a bowl of cereal, like I said. Or maybe I want, to bake some cookies, or, of course, keto cookies. Or, anything like that. And I need milk, okay? If I use this potato milk, is it going to have a hint of it being, like, mashed potatoes? Are we going to have a problem with that? That where it's going to taste like I have mashed potatoes in my cereal or my cookies? Because if so, then it's a no for me. Okay. But yeah, I saw that recipe and I was like, whoa, that's crazy. And also, just a little rant. And I'm sure a lot of you probably feel the same way that I do. Don't you hate when you go to a recipe online and you just want the ingredients? You want the ingredients and, like, the directions of how to make it. But before you get to that, people want to tell their whole life story, okay, about their grandma. She made this recipe and how much she loved it in the summers, or like whatever, or even just like, I was messing around in the kitchen one day and I just came up with this. Okay, cool, okay. Who cares? Okay, it looked good on Pinterest. The picture looked very appetizing. I just want to know how to make it, okay? If I got the stuff in the fridge where I can make it, if I have stuff in the pantry, if I can make it, or in the freezer or whatever, and what I need to get from the grocery store if I'm going to make it, I don't care about the story behind your recipe. I love those jump to recipe buttons at the top where you can just scroll right past all of that boring stuff, all the nonsense, and get right to what you want. I love that so much. Yeah, what do you guys think of potato milk? I would maybe try it. Maybe. Because, like, I already do, like, I used to do a lot of almond milk, but now I do coconut milk. And I love it, but I don't know, potato milk? I don't know, I feel like, I don't know what the texture would be like, like, of course it's going to be liquid, but, like, is it going to be, like, liquid, like water liquid, or is it going to have, like, little, like, weird texture in it? Like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I think it might be just mashed potatoes liquefied a little bit. But let me know, would you have potato milk? Because I would probably try it, but I don't know if I would actually like it, so. Okay, so I think that's everything that I wanted to cover today on the podcast. So thank you again for coming back and listening and for your support. Again, you can always listen to the podcast on Anchor and Spotify, and like I said, I'm going to be getting the YouTube video thing figured out, because I don't want to do video video podcast, at least not yet, just because I do it on Wednesdays and I get off work and I just don't feel like making myself look nice. You know what I mean? Like, I'm exhausted from the day of work I've done. Oh gosh, I'm about to throw my phone across the room. And I like, if I want to do that, I want to at least look presentable, you know what I mean? But I do want to figure out how to like add like images and stuff like that onto the YouTube version of the podcast. So I'm going to be figuring that out. And then also, if you want to follow me on social media, the only one I really have, because I don't have Twitter because I just don't understand it, the only one I have is Instagram. So if you want to follow me on Instagram, you can follow me at Gabby Flannery, Flanary 9. That is at Gabby Flannery 9 on Instagram. And I was gonna have like a question for y'all to give me your answers and stuff, so we can kind of have some social interactions from the episode. But there's so many things that have happened this week. I'm like, what can I ask about? I guess, I don't know. Would you have potato milk? What was your favorite crazy news story that I read this week? What's your thoughts on Ukraine, Russia, Biden, whatever? Just tell me what your thoughts are in the comments again on the Anchor, Spotify, or YouTube channel. And also make sure, if you do go over to the YouTube channel, to subscribe, so that way you can have some support over there as well. So thank you all so much. I guess I'll see you next week. Have a great week, and I'll see you next Wednesday. Bye.